Welcome to the new world order! Steel gates slamming, hear the new overlords planning. Yeah, the old world is dust, now it's rust for the power in this concrete wasteland that we're standing. We the faction, the reaction to a world that broke into. This ain't no prison, it's a kingdom and the crown belongs to crew. Every cell block is a barony, we run this anarchy. Welcome to the fallout, baby, this is how it's meant to be. Welcome to the fallout, baby, this is how it's meant to be!
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we've got a story that's going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about prisons. We're talking about violent criminal empires being run not from some secret hideout, but from inside a maximum security prison. Let's dive in. I mean, how is this even possible, right? A guy is locked up for life, supposedly cut off from the entire world, but he's still calling the shots, directing murder, drug trafficking, and recruiting new members on the outside. That's the crazy puzzle we're going to piece together today. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the shocking reality of crime run from captivity. Then we'll look at a huge gang takedown in Georgia, dig into the legal superpower prosecutors used, pinpoint the core control problem, and finally, ask if there's a way to actually break this devastating cycle. All right, let's kick things off with the fundamental contradiction at the heart of this whole thing. What a prison is supposed to be versus what it's actually become. You know, we all think of prison as the place we send dangerous people to keep the rest of us safe. That's the whole point, right? To stop crime. But the reality is, well, it's the complete opposite. A Georgia official literally called them command centers for violent crime. Think about that for a second. Not a place to stop crime, but a place to run it from. And if you want to know just how bad it gets, look at this. This is a direct quote from Jamar Ramsey, a gang leader, texting from his cell while he's already serving life for murder. We want youth because it's a youth movement. Start reading like crazy. He's not just talking about recruitment, he's talking about targeting kids, and he's calling it breeding. I mean, the audacity is just staggering. And he's doing this from behind bars. Okay, so this isn't just a hypothetical. This all came to a head in a massive case in Georgia, where they went after Ramsey's entire network. And this was a huge deal. We're not talking about just arresting a couple of guys. They took down 16 members of this gang in one single operation. 16! That's a major hit that really crippled their organization both inside and outside the prison. And the sentences were no joke. Just look at the two big players here. Jamar Ramsey, the leader who was already doing life, gets another 60 years tacked on top. Meanwhile, one of his soldiers, Brentavia Sims, gets life without parole plus another 25 years for a murder that Ramsey ordered from his cell. It just shows the chain of command was real, and the courts made them pay for it. And this wasn't some petty street gang. We're talking about a full-on criminal enterprise. I mean, just look at this list. Murder, assault, trafficking heavy-duty drugs like fentanyl and meth, arson, robbery, extortion, and even systematically recruiting children. This was a sophisticated, violent, and far-reaching operation. So the big question is, how on earth do you connect all these different crimes committed by all these different people in different places all the way back to one guy sitting in a prison cell? While prosecutors pulled out their secret weapon, something called the RICO Act. So what is RICO? It was actually created to fight the mafia. And it's kind of a legal superpower because it doesn't just go after one crime at a time. It lets prosecutors target the entire organization, the whole shebang, by showing that all these smaller crimes are just part of a bigger criminal business. Okay, so here's the playbook for how it actually works. It's basically a four-step process. First, you've got a person. Easy enough. Second, you prove they committed a pattern of crimes, at least two that are connected. Think a drug deal and an assault. Third, and this is the key, you show those crimes were done to help the enterprise, in this case, the gang. And finally, you connect that enterprise to commerce. See how that works? It's how they could take a murder here and a drug deal over there and trace it all back to Jamar Ramsey, the guy running the whole show. But that whole RICO strategy hinges on one thing: proving communication. Proving that the guy in prison was actually giving the orders. And that brings us to the number one problem for prisons right now. How are these inmates communicating with the outside world? And the answer is shockingly simple, yet incredibly difficult to stop: contraband cell phones. These things are smuggled into prisons all the time, and they are the lifeline for these gangs. It's the direct line from the leader in his cell to the crew on the street. It's how they order hits, coordinate drug deals, literally everything. Now, it's not a one-sided fight. Prison officials have their own arsenal of tech to fight back. On the official prison phones, they can do all sorts of things. They can scan for keywords, use voice recognition. They can even tell if an inmate is trying to patch a call through to someone else. They can even geolocate the phone on the other end. But here's the catch. None of that fancy tech works on an illegal, smuggled cell phone. And this is where law enforcement comes in. Georgia's Attorney General, Chris Carr, puts it pretty bluntly. This is exactly why we have to be able to jam contraband cell phones in prisons and jails. From his perspective, it's a tech problem that needs a tech solution. Cut off the signal, you cut off the leader. But that leads to a much bigger question, doesn't it? Is cutting off communication really enough, or is that just plugging one hole in a dam that's about to burst? I mean, jamming phones is a security tactic, right? It's playing defense. But what if there's another way? A way to not just block the orders, but to convince the gang members to stop taking them in the first place? Well, it turns out some places are trying to do just that. Take Texas, for example. They have a program called GRAD, which stands for Gang Renouncement and Disassociation. It's a real structured way for inmates to officially walk away from their gang. And this isn't some quick, easy fix. It's a serious commitment. We're talking a 9-month intensive program. It starts with things like substance abuse classes. Then it moves into the really heavy stuff: cognitive therapy, anger management, tackling the root causes of criminal behavior. And finally, it eases them back into a routine with work and reintegration programs. It's a totally different approach, trying to dismantle the gang from the inside, one person at a time. So that leaves us with this final, really important question. When we talk about prison gangs, what kind of problem are we actually trying to solve? Is it a security problem that needs tech, like cell phone jammers? Is it a legal problem that needs powerful tools like the RICO Act? Or is it a human problem that needs rehabilitation, a real path out? The truth is, it's probably all three. But where we decide to put our focus, well, that's going to determine whether we're just fighting endless battles or if we actually have a shot at winning the war.